Good morning. It's Pam and welcome to my Thursday morning coffee chat. I was setting up for this and the sun was just gorgeous. The sky was blue. I was like, I'm gonna go outside. And then I looked out the other window and there's this dark gray bank of clouds. And yeah, it's kind of half overhead now. So there's a little bit of sun still out the kitchen window over here. So that's good. Anyway, that's why I'm inside. I suddenly was like, not only can I not go outside really, but I'm gonna have to turn on every light because it suddenly got really dark. I guess that's a metaphor for life. So welcome. I hope you have a cup of good strong coffee or tea or whatever your preference is. And yeah, let's get into it. I wanted to just share on these Thursdays what's going on in my life, what's going on with my YouTube journey, and mainly, the things I'm dealing with, and just kind of share a little bit with you while I'm figuring all this out. So the first thing that came to mind to share was the new book that I'm going to read, Becoming a Woman of Influence by Carol Kent. And I thought when I read the title, I was like, oh, that's quite presumptuous, that first of all, that she thinks she's a woman of influence, and then that I could read the book and become a woman of influence. It's kind of like it's a book, but then at the back, there's a study. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. That's the new thing. I read one chapter of it, and then I did some deep dive research on Carol Kent to find out, what kind of woman of influence she actually is. And yeah, she is elderly now, or, older. I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember, but she has quite a testimony. And I might do a video on that sometime because, yeah, they've had some family tragedy, and it really made me think about the lengths, like how far people can be pushed when they have an influence on them. You know that part in Lord of the Rings where, okay, I'm not like a Lord of the Rings expert, and so bear with me, but I think it's King Theoden and his assistant, who is it? Wormtongue is whispering in his ear, right, all the time. And so they come back to the kingdom, to the castle, these some of the members of the fellowship. Wow, I'm really bad at this. I haven't watched it for a while. And they come in and he is just a shadow of himself, right? He's so pale. He's kind of looks like he's on death's door. His eyes are all cloudy. His hair is white and frizzled, and he's obviously weak. And right beside him, whispering in his ear, is this dark, man who has kind of given himself over to darkness, and he keeps advising and whispering in his ear, and he's like poisoning him basically, right? And I thought of how there have been people, and I know people right now, that their very lives are being sucked out of them, poisoned by the things that they're listening to, the people that they're listening to. And yeah, it really made me think. So I'm looking forward to reading this book, and sorry for the glasses glare. Just, I don't know. I just gotta deal with it. The other thing that I'm doing, and this might sound a bit presumptuous as well, so pause for a fortifying drink. It's just black coffee. That's all I ever have in the morning. I am fasting and praying, but I was thinking about it and I was like, I can't fast because I have diabetes type 2. And then I thought, well, I can fast from other things. And I thought, what's the one thing that would really be hard to give up but would free up your time? And I'm ashamed to say it, but it's playing games on my phone. I have a really, excuse me, sorry, kind of addictive personality, I guess. I get really addicted to gaming. When I find a game that I go, I have to beat it. You know, I never spend money on games, but I have to get to the highest possible level. And then when I do, then I delete it off my phone. But I thought, every time I feel like I want to play this game, every time I feel like I'm just going to sit on the couch and scroll through my phone or something mindless like that, I thought, I'm going to fast from that. I'm going to give that up and I'm going to pray. Now, I've noticed throughout my life that I am, sorry, I'm easily distracted when I'm praying. I can pray for like 30 seconds and then my brain is like off on other tangents. And then I find myself going, what was I doing again? So I write out my prayers. So I found this book, this school notebook of my son's from back when he was in high school. And I thought, oh, this is fitting because right now the concentration of my prayers is for him. And I just poured out my heart to God on those pages. And even though it's only been a few days of doing that, man, I feel so much more alive spiritually. And even though, you know, the battles aren't won, I'm fighting. And I think that's sometimes the most important thing. So I wanted to share that with you because I know some people who watch have been on a journey and they've been doing some fasting and praying. So I wanted to just kind of check in about that and see how it goes. So far, it's been helpful. And I know that God is working behind the scenes and I'm actively trying to trust him with my life and the lives of those I love. So, all right, what else did I want to talk about? This channel. So now that I'm in semester 2 of like the high school calendar, and I don't have a big project that I'm working on, I've been doing other things. I have been, going through stuff that I've been meaning to organize on my computer. I've been thinking about what I can do. And one of the things I've been wanting to do for a while is make videos for the courses that I have made. And so I'm thinking of having another channel. I know I can hardly keep up with this one, but I'm thinking of starting to make those videos and then putting them on another channel. And I'm kind of wrestling with what to name it, right? Because it's going to be mainly English literature focused, but I also have social studies courses. I also have a journalism course. I have a creative writing course. So if you have any name suggestions, Dylan's suggestion was English is lit, which I thought was kind of cute. But yeah, maybe it should just be English. I don't know. And then last night when I was on Scott's live Escaping the Suburbs and Mike was on there being interviewed, and that was really fun to be part of. I was thinking more about what the direction is of this channel and why I'm still doing it, even though I didn't kind of intentionally start doing it. I kind of fell into it. And I don't actually have a sentence that I can say, this is what I'm doing. I could say it's, talking about boundaries, values, and midlife. There's things I could put onto it, but as yet, I feel this is kind of an undefined space, and I know that's not how you succeed on YouTube, so I'm working it out. I'm working it out. Sometimes other people have better perspective on what you're doing, right? On what your channel is about. And if you ask them, they could say, oh, I know what your videos are about. They're about this. So that's kind of interesting too. I was going to talk about my last video talking about Christian school experience. But I think I'll just leave that because I don't want to go too long. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. I was thinking about doing a whole series where I unpack like all the different parts of that, because I know I left a lot of questions unanswered and maybe a lot of assumptions. Maybe, you know, like people think I don't like homeschooling, but the reality is that, you know, homeschooling is different for everyone. It wasn't good for me in my case, but I'm not against homeschooling, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, but I realized that the Christian school, or my whole education experience, it's kind of more of a sore spot than I thought it was. So I've been thinking about that and wrestling with that. Another thing I've been doing with my little bit more free time in the mornings is I've been gathering up my poems from the Four Winds. And Julie Jordan Scott, you know, has kind of inspired me more in the poetry realm to remember that I have all these poems and that I love poetry, and to kind of get into it again. So that's what this yellow book is. This is a little notebook that I bought a long time ago to write my poems in, and I haven't really done it at all, really. My poems are everywhere. They're on Facebook. They are in my notes app. They're in a box somewhere, in a binder. They are on my computer. I have not been organized with the poems. And a lot of that is just when I feel like writing one, when something comes up, I'm not always like in a place I can organize it, right? So I'm not usually at my computer. I'm usually, you know, I may be driving, so I might be just making a voice note about this poem idea or some of the phrases I want to have in it. Anyway, so I'm trying to gather them up and put them all in one place, and I dearly wish that I had been better at it, because it is really hard. And I know that there are lots of poems that I love that I've written that I'll probably never find them again, and that's okay. That makes me a bit sad, but you know, maybe the consequences of my actions will make me actually get organized. So I thought I would read to you. This is a bit vulnerable, but I thought I would read to you one of my poems that I do have in here, and it's the shortest poem I've ever written, so I thought it would be good for a video. And it's about fog. I remember driving around, you know, driving to work, and in the place that we used to live before, the little town, it was close to a big river, and often it would be so foggy in the morning that, you know, you could hardly see anything. And so this visual came to me. Fog. The fog beautifully hides, calms as slow smoke snakes before your eyes. The houses slump and sigh, relieved to not smile and stand straight for passersby. That was in 2016. I wrote that. Yeah, so that's been kind of cool. And then what else? The lesson teaching, ups and downs. I've been complaining and venting about that before, and thank you for your advice. So what happened is some of the main culprits that have been dropping their kids off early and picking them up late, that week they didn't do it. so I was like, maybe I don't have to take any action here. And no, then this week we've been back to it. So the problem is I'm expecting them to come at a certain time, right? So I might be doing some last minute things, and then all of a sudden at 6 minutes before their lesson starts, they're ringing my doorbell, or sometimes I usually always have the door locked, but sometimes they'll just burst right in. And then I have them for, quite a bit longer than their lesson time, if they're the first one. And then if someone else is here and they burst in the door, well, the piano is kind of right there close to the entrance. And so it's really disruptive for the child who's singing or at the piano. And so I thought that keeping the door locked would help to kind of send a message that it's not your time yet. But it's winter in Alberta. I can't leave them standing out there, or can I? So anyway, kind of back to square one. That's the down of lessons, but the up is yesterday. I have a young voice student, and she's, in some ways too young to be taking voice lessons, but she's doing fine and she loves it. And she really needs a creative outlet. And so it's less about the technical skills and more about just building strength and having fun singing. So yesterday she brought her guitar that she's learning in, and she said, I have a surprise for you. And she did. She had written an original song, and she sat there and played it for me on her guitar and sang. And she's only 10. And it was one of those special moments where you're like, okay, this is good. Maybe I should be doing this. So that was an up. That was a plus. I think that's about it. I mean, I have so many things that I could talk about, that I want to talk about, but that's kind of a catch up for this week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having a coffee or tea with me, and let me know how you're doing. How was your week in the comments, or what was something that resonated with you? Do you have any advice for me? I'm always open to it, because I know that I think that I can see my reality clearly. And yeah, there's a lot of things that I have insight into, but sometimes other people's perspective can be really helpful, can be like iron sharpening iron, like the proverb says. And sometimes we have those blind spots, right? That we're like, it's really obvious to everyone else, but to us, can't see the sun through the clouds. So have an awesome day. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I will see you guys again soon. Bye.